The assassin teleported directly behind her back. She was already waiting with a knife to his throat. The city stretched across the horizon like a web of silver and neon, its towers piercing the low-hanging clouds. From orbit, the human metropolis glimmered like a jewel among the darkness of space, a testament to humanity's ingenuity and ambition. People from dozens of star systems traveled through its spaceports, trading goods, ideas, and stories of worlds far beyond. Yet for all its beauty, there was a shadow beneath the lights, a shadow that moved with deadly precision. Alara moved through the streets with calm purpose. Her uniform, a sleek combination of reinforced fabric and lightweight armor plating, shimmered faintly under the neon signs. In her eyes danced the reflection of 1,000 lights, but her attention was elsewhere. She was no ordinary citizen enjoying the bustle of the evening. She was a protector, trained to see the danger others could not. Her assignment was clear: protect Ambassador Thorin, the human diplomat working tirelessly to maintain peace between the interstellar colonies. He had enemies, and not just ordinary ones. Some were ruthless, well-trained, and invisible to most human eyes. And tonight, something told Alara that one of those enemies was close. The whisper of the wind carried more than the faint hum of hovercars. Somewhere in the crowded streets, a presence moved with unnatural speed, a predator invisible to the casual observer. Alara sensed it before she could see it. Years of training in both human and alien tactics had honed her instincts to a razor edge. Every muscle in her body tensed. She slowed her steps, letting the crowd move around her as if she were invisible. And then she felt it, a sudden shift in the air, a flicker at the edge of her vision. She didn't turn, but her hand went to her knife. In one fluid motion, she slipped it from its sheath, ready. Behind her, the assassin appeared, teleported into existence like a ghost. His movements were precise, calculated, the kind of speed that made him seem almost unreal. He expected the advantage of surprise. He expected her to be caught off guard. Alara was already there. The knife was pressed against his throat before he could even react. His eyes widened in shock, a rare expression on the face of someone who had killed without hesitation. "Human," he said, his voice low and tense. "I didn't expect. You thought you were invisible," Alara interrupted, her voice steady, controlled. "But I've learned to see shadows." The crowd flowed around them, oblivious to the tense confrontation unfolding in their midst. Few could detect the subtle energy shifts, the silent clash of two highly trained beings, each calculating the other's next move. The assassin froze, realizing that he had underestimated her. Humans were not always the strongest, not always the fastest, but they were unpredictable. They adapted, they survived, and some, like Alara, could turn instinct into weaponry. "You work for them?" she asked, her knife still firm against his throat. "The ones planning attacks on our colonies," he hesitated. A flicker of annoyance passed over his face. "You assume too much." Alara shifted slightly, keeping her balance, reading his movements as if they were lines of code. No assumptions, experience. He glanced around. Teleportation was his strength, his edge, but she had anticipated him. Every move he made could be countered, measured, and turned back on him. In this brief standoff, humanity's ingenuity became evident, not through sheer force, but through awareness, calculation, and adaptability. A faint whir of energy announced the arrival of another presence, a subtle warning only she could sense. She adjusted her stance, keeping the knife steady. The assassin's eyes flicked toward the source, distracted for just a moment, enough for her to notice the faint shimmer of a cloaking device. "Interesting," he muttered. "You can sense even that." Alara didn't answer. She moved like water, adjusting her position, her body ready for any sudden attack. In that instant, she became more than human. She became a symbol of what humanity could achieve when instinct, intelligence, and courage were combined. The assassin's frustration was clear. His teleportation, his years of training, his advanced technology, None of it had given him the upper hand. Yet he could not strike recklessly. He had to think, to plan, to anticipate her next move. And she, in turn, could anticipate his. "Why protect him?" he asked, voice sharper now, testing her resolve. "He is only one man." Alara's eyes did not waver. "One man can carry the weight of worlds if enough people stand behind him. One man can prevent a war. And I am human. I adapt, I fight, I survive. That is what humans do." He smirked faintly, a mixture of respect and irritation. Bold words for someone so young. Alara allowed herself a small smile. "Age is nothing without action, and I've acted enough to know that you won't get away tonight." The crowd continued to move around them, unaware that at that very moment, two of the deadliest beings in the galaxy were locked in a silent battle of reflexes, intellect, and willpower. It was a human against an alien predator, and for the first time in a long while, the predator realized he was not facing an ordinary opponent. She tightened her grip on the knife, pressing it slightly more firmly against his throat. A drop of sweat slid down his temple, though he made no move to retreat. His teleportation tech hummed faintly, a soft glow beneath his armor, ready to activate if needed. But every instinct told him that tonight, his advantage had vanished. "You rely too much on technology," Alara said softly, her voice almost a whisper. "Strength is temporary, speed is temporary, but the mind, that lasts, that adapts, that survives." The assassin's eyes narrowed. He had faced humans before, of course. Many had been clever, resourceful, deadly. But rarely had he faced one who could anticipate teleportation, read subtle cues, and counter instinctively without hesitation. He realized that humanity's greatest weapon was not their machines, nor their numbers, nor even their courage. It was their unpredictability, their creativity, and their ability to turn even a small moment into a decisive advantage. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stretch. The city's lights reflected off their eyes, the distant hum of hovercraft and neon signs blending with the tension between them. Then, in a flash, he made a move. Not violent, not reckless, but calculated. He twisted slightly, testing her balance, seeing if she could maintain control. Alara responded instantly, shifting her weight, adjusting her grip, and holding him steady. She was ready for anything, her body and mind a single unit of precision and determination. "You're not going to win with tricks," she said. "Not tonight, not ever." The assassin paused, the first real hesitation in his demeanor. Humans were stubborn, yes, but stubbornness paired with skill was dangerous. He realized that every move he had planned could be anticipated, countered, or turned against him. And in this moment, he understood why humans were feared across the stars, not because they were the strongest, but because they refused to be predictable, refused to be defeated. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, he spoke, his voice low and controlled. "Perhaps I misjudged you, human." Alara allowed herself a small nod. "Perhaps, but don't mistake caution for weakness. You still have a choice." The assassin's gaze met hers, and for a moment the predator and the human shared understanding. One was trained to kill, the other trained to survive. But survival sometimes required something more than strength. It required intelligence, anticipation, and courage. Then, almost imperceptibly, he shifted. Not to attack, not to flee, but to withdraw. He had learned something crucial. This human was not an opponent to underestimate. Not tonight. Not ever. Alara watched him disappear into the crowd, her knife still ready. Her senses remained sharp, her mind racing, analyzing every detail, every movement. The city was alive, full of danger, but humanity thrived in these moments. They thrived not by brute force, but by thinking, adapting, and standing firm in the face of the unknown. Tonight, humanity had survived. Tonight, humanity had shown what it could do. And in the distance, the city continued to glow, a beacon of resilience, ingenuity, and life that refused to be extinguished, even in the shadows of the most deadly predator. Alara exhaled, lowering her knife slightly, But she knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of threats both seen and unseen. And if humanity had learned anything, it was that they would face those threats head-on, with courage, with intelligence, and with the indomitable human spirit. Alara's heartbeat was steady as she moved through the streets, the city's neon lights reflecting off her armor. Even though the assassin had vanished into the crowd, she knew it was only a temporary retreat. Highly trained predators like him did not vanish without purpose. He was calculating, watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. And she would be ready. She adjusted her communicator, sending a quiet signal to Ambassador Thorin's security team. "Maintain your positions," she whispered, her voice calm but firm. "Stay alert. The target is safe, but danger is near." The response came almost immediately, voices crackling softly through the channel. "Acknowledged, Alara. All units are in position." Alara took a deep breath. The streets around her were full of people, unaware of the deadly dance unfolding nearby. Children laughed, vendors shouted over the hum of hovercars, and tourists marveled at the towering skyscrapers. Humanity thrived in these cities, creating beauty and life even amidst potential danger. It was this combination of courage and creativity that made humans unpredictable and dangerous to anyone who underestimated them. Her mind returned to the assassin. She had studied his movements, memorized the faint shimmer of his teleportation tech, and traced the subtle shifts in energy that preceded each jump. She had learned enough in the brief encounter to know that he was clever, patient, and highly skilled. Yet she also knew his patterns had a limit. He could only adapt so much, and human intuition often outmatched even the most advanced technology. Hours passed as she navigated through the city, keeping to the shadows and scanning every alley, every rooftop, every reflective surface. She did not seek confrontation, but she would not ignore opportunity. And then she sensed him again. This time the shift in energy was different, sharper. He had been aware that she was following him and he was testing her. Alara moved quickly, silent as a shadow, climbing to a higher vantage point. From the rooftop, she saw him in the street below, scanning, as if expecting her to emerge. Their eyes met for a brief instant. The assassin's expression was calm but alert, a predator aware of the unexpected resistance in his prey. Alara's gaze was equally steady, her body ready to react to any sudden movement. In that moment there was no sound, no motion, only anticipation, a silent duel of minds and reflexes. He teleported again, this time to the edge of a nearby plaza, expecting her to follow. But she had anticipated it. She slipped down through a hidden passage, moving silently through the crowded market. The people around her paid no attention to the two deadly figures moving like shadows among them. As she approached the plaza, she saw him again, standing still, almost as if he were waiting. But it was a trap. He was testing her, gauging how quickly she could react, how she would think in the chaos of the crowd. Alara's heart remained steady. She had faced humans, aliens, and machines in her training, but the combination of intellect, instinct, and anticipation was what set her apart. She studied the plaza's layout, noting exits, barriers, and vantage points. Every step, every choice was a calculation. The assassin made his move. He teleported directly behind a vendor stall, intending to ambush her. But she anticipated him. With a swift turn, she moved into his line of sight and pressed her knife against his chest before he could react. "You learn quickly," he said, his voice calm, tinged with surprise. "I did not expect you to anticipate my moves so well." Alara's grip did not waver. "I study patterns," she said simply. "You rely too much on your technology. Human intuition is stronger than any device." He chuckled softly, a sound that was almost human. "You are remarkable. Few could match me in skill and thought." "You are not invincible," she replied. "And underestimating humans is a mistake you will not repeat." The assassin's eyes narrowed. He had faced humans before, of course, but rarely one who could counter teleportation, anticipate moves, and react instantly. He realized that his advantage had been neutralized, not by strength or numbers, but by human adaptability, quick thinking, and courage. "You could join me," he said suddenly. "You have skill and potential. Together we could." Alara shook her head firmly. "I protect humanity. I do not betray it." His expression hardened and he teleported again, this time to the top of a nearby building, attempting to gain the high ground. Alara followed, not by teleportation, but by calculated movement and precise timing. Every step she took, every movement she made, was a demonstration of human creativity, resourcefulness, and adaptability. The duel continued, silent and precise. They moved across rooftops, through narrow alleys, and over crowded streets. Neither could gain a decisive advantage, but every encounter strengthened Alara's understanding of him, his patterns, and his weaknesses. She realized that humans' greatest strength was not brute force, but the ability to adapt, predict, and overcome. Finally, they paused on a rooftop overlooking the city's central square. Both were breathing steadily, eyes locked. The assassin studied her with newfound respect, recognizing the combination of skill, instinct, and courage that made her human. "You are persistent," he said. "I underestimated you." "And you underestimate humanity," she replied. "We survive, we adapt, we overcome." For a moment the two stood in silence, the neon lights reflecting off their faces, the city alive beneath them. It was a quiet pause in a deadly dance, a moment where predator and protector acknowledged each other's skill. The assassin spoke again, softer this time. "Perhaps we are not so different. We both fight for what we believe in." Alara nodded slightly. "Yes. But I fight for life, not destruction. That is the difference." He regarded her for a long moment, then stepped back, activating his teleportation device. "This is not over," he said, before vanishing into the night. Alara remained on the rooftop, her knife still ready, her senses alert. The city was full of life, but she knew that danger never slept. Every shadow, every movement could be a threat. Yet she felt a sense of pride, not in victory, but in the resilience of humanity. They had survived, adapted, and proven that their greatest weapon was not strength or technology, but the ability to think, to anticipate, and to act with courage. She descended from the rooftop, returning to the streets below. The market was still alive with energy, the people unaware of the deadly duel that had just taken place above them. Yet for Alara, every movement, every breath, was a reminder that vigilance and preparation were the keys to survival. As she approached the secure zone where Ambassador Thorin waited, she reflected on the encounter. Humanity had always faced threats, from rival species to environmental disasters, yet they had endured. They had adapted to new challenges, learned from every mistake, and found strength in unity and intelligence. Tonight was no different. The assassin had tested her, pushed her limits, and challenged her skills. But she had learned, adapted, and survived. And in doing so, she had demonstrated the essence of humanity: courage, intelligence, and the relentless will to endure. When she finally entered the ambassador's secure zone, she reported her findings. "The threat is real," she said, "but we are ready. Humanity will not be defeated, not by him, not by anyone." Thorin nodded, understanding the significance of her words. Humanity was not the strongest, nor the fastest, nor the most advanced, but they were adaptable, clever, and resilient. And in a galaxy full of danger, that was enough. Alara settled into her watch position, eyes scanning the perimeter, ears attuned to every sound. The city continued to hum with life around her, but she knew the duel was only the beginning. The assassin was still out there, testing, learning, waiting for the right moment. And she would be ready. Humanity thrived not because they were invincible, but because they could think, adapt, and act when it mattered most. And tonight, they had shown that even in the shadows, they were a force to be reckoned with. The night sky over the city was clear, revealing the faint glow of distant starships moving through orbit. Alara stood atop a tall observation tower, scanning the streets below with her enhanced optical sensors. The assassin had disappeared hours ago, but she knew he had not left the city entirely. Skilled predators did not vanish without purpose. They waited, planned, and struck when the moment was right. She activated her portable tracking device, a small, compact tool that pulsed softly as it scanned for unusual energy signatures. The assassin's teleportation tech left traces, faint but detectable, and Alara had learned how to read them. A flicker of movement across the central plaza registered on her scanner. He had returned. Alara moved silently, keeping to the shadows, her knife ready but her mind focused. The streets below were crowded, yet her awareness allowed her to see patterns others missed. The subtle shifts in energy, the unusual movement of people and objects, the flicker of light where teleportation might occur. Humanity had survived countless dangers not through sheer strength, but through observation, intuition, and quick thinking. Tonight, those traits would guide her. The assassin teleported again, appearing atop a moving hovercar. He moved with grace, scanning for her, confident in his speed and technology. Yet every jump he made left behind a pattern, and Alara followed, predicting his next move before he could act. She leapt from rooftop to rooftop, her boots gripping the metal surfaces as she calculated each step with precision. Below, the city thrummed with life. Citizens laughed, traded, and navigated the bright neon streets, oblivious to the deadly pursuit happening above them. Humanity's resilience was evident even here. People thrived despite the dangers around them, building homes, businesses, and lives in a city full of shadows. Alara's mind raced as she tracked him. He was clever, but she had seen patterns in his movements, moments of hesitation, choices dictated by habit, openings created by overconfidence. Human intuition, she reminded herself, often outmatched advanced technology. The assassin paused on a high balcony, his eyes scanning for her. He activated a small device, sending a pulse that temporarily disrupted electronic sensors in the immediate area. It was clever, but not enough to fool her. She sensed the disruption and adjusted her approach, moving silently to a vantage point from which she could strike if needed. He teleported once more, this time into a narrow alley. The streets were quieter here, the neon lights dimmer, the shadows deeper. He assumed he had the advantage, but Alara was ready. She emerged from a side passage, knife in hand, eyes fixed on his position. "You persist," he said, his voice calm but cautious. "Few humans would continue after the first encounter." "I learn quickly," she replied. "And humans adapt faster than most expect." The assassin's expression hardened. He had underestimated her before, and he would not make that mistake again. Yet every move he made was now anticipated, countered before it could even begin. The silent duel between predator and human was a battle of minds as much as bodies. He lunged, attempting to teleport behind her, but she spun, using his momentum to press him against the wall with her knife at his side. "Not this time," she said firmly. He paused, evaluating her. He could have fought, but even in his experience, he had learned to respect intelligence. Strength alone would not win this fight. Humans had a quality that many alien species lacked, the ability to combine creativity, intuition, and courage into action, and Alara exemplified it. "You are skilled," he admitted, "but skill alone will not protect your people forever. There are others, larger threats than me, moving against humanity. Your victories tonight are temporary." Alara did not flinch. Temporary or not, humanity survives by adapting, by thinking, and by standing together. That is how we endure. He regarded her silently, then teleported again, leaving her alone in the alley. She took a moment to breathe, recalibrating her sensors and preparing for the next encounter. The chase was not over. It had only moved to a different stage. Ilara's pursuit led her to the city's orbital spaceport, a sprawling hub of commerce, transport, and interstellar travel. Ships of all shapes and sizes hovered, docked, or launched into orbit. She scanned the area carefully. The assassin's presence was subtle but detectable, a faint energy signature, barely noticeable, yet enough to guide her steps. The spaceport was crowded with humans, aliens, and androids moving about their tasks. Humanity's reach into the stars was evident here. Ships built, maintained, and piloted by human hands were everywhere. Yet even amidst this technological marvel, danger lurked. Skilled assassins, rival factions, and those who sought to destabilize human progress were never far away. Ilara moved with purpose, blending into the crowd while keeping her sensors active. She spotted him finally, a shadow among shadows, preparing to teleport again. But she was ready. She triggered a small device, releasing a pulse that temporarily disrupted teleportation in a localized area. The assassin froze mid-teleport, an expression of surprise flashing across his face. "Impressive," he muttered. "You are not just skilled, your ingenuity is remarkable." Ilara pressed forward, her knife ready. "Humanity thrives on ingenuity," she said. "We survive because we think ahead, adapt, and act when necessary." The assassin assessed her, recognizing that brute force or speed alone would not succeed. He needed strategy, patience, and unpredictability, and in a rare acknowledgement, he allowed her to approach without resistance. "You have learned well," he said. "But there are others who will not hesitate. Prepare yourself." Ilara did not lower her weapon. She understood the truth in his words. The galaxy was vast, and while this assassin was only one threat, countless dangers existed beyond the city. Humanity's survival depended on vigilance, intelligence, and the willingness to face the unknown. The chase continued through the spaceport, across landing platforms, and into the corridors of massive starships. The Predator's skill was evident, but so was Ilara's. She used her environment cleverly, closing doors, manipulating lighting, and utilizing every advantage the human mind could create. Even technology designed to give the assassin the upper hand was countered by human adaptability. Hours passed. The city below hummed with life. The stars above glimmered like diamonds, and Ilara pressed on, relentless in her pursuit. She understood that the battle was more than a chase. It was a demonstration of human resilience, ingenuity, and determination. Even when outmatched in technology or physical ability, humans could find a way to prevail. Finally, the assassin paused in a docking bay, preparing for another teleportation. He looked at her, a rare glimmer of respect in his eyes. "You are relentless," he said. "And humanity endures," she replied. "Relentless, creative, and unafraid." For a brief moment, the two stood in silence, the hum of starships around them blending with the tension in the air. It was a pause in the silent duel, a moment to acknowledge skill, courage, and the shared understanding of survival in a galaxy full of danger. The assassin teleported once more, vanishing into the starry night. Ilara did not pursue immediately. She knew he was testing her, learning her patterns as much as she learned his. This was more than a battle of strength. It was a battle of wits, reflexes, and endurance. Ilara's communicator buzzed softly. Ambassador Thorin's voice was calm but concerned. "Report, Ilara." "The threat remains," she said, "but humanity's resilience is stronger than any single predator. We survive, adapt, and will continue to protect our people." Thorin nodded, understanding the deeper truth in her words. Human survival was not defined by weapons, strength, or numbers alone. It was defined by intelligence, courage, and the ability to adapt when faced with the unknown. Ilara turned back to the city, her eyes scanning the horizon. The stars above promised challenges yet to come, and she welcomed them. The assassin was only one of many threats in a galaxy full of predators, but humanity had a quality that no enemy could fully predict or defeat: the indomitable human spirit. As she prepared for the next move, she thought of the countless humans who had built, explored, and defended the stars. They had endured war, famine, and disaster, yet they thrived. And tonight she was a part of that legacy, protecting life, defending civilization, and proving that even in the darkest shadows, humanity could shine. The chase would continue, the predator would return, and the stakes would grow higher. But Alara was ready. Humans were ready. And in the vast expanse of stars, that made all the difference. Alara hovered above the starlit expanse of the docking bay, her body suspended by the magnetic boots built into her armor. The assassin had retreated into the heart of the orbital station, a massive asteroid fortress converted into a military base by a faction hostile to human expansion. Her sensors detected faint energy pulses from his teleportation device, confirming he was inside. Every step she took was measured, careful. The fortress was a labyrinth of corridors, docking bays, and observation decks. It was designed for defense, for control, and for those who knew how to use it. But Alara had something the station's designers had not accounted for: human ingenuity. As she moved through the outer corridors, she activated small surveillance drones, sending them ahead to map the station in real time. Each drone was equipped with simple cameras and sensors, yet in combination, they created a network of awareness far greater than the assassin could anticipate. Humanity had thrived in impossible environments before, building technology to survive in space, on hostile planets, and even in interstellar travel. Tonight, that ingenuity would become her advantage. The first encounter came quickly. The assassin teleported into a maintenance bay, expecting her to follow the most direct route. But she was already ahead, using side corridors and low-visibility passages to flank him. He paused, realizing the human had anticipated his move again. "You are persistent," he said, a faint note of admiration in his voice. "Most would have fled by now." "I adapt," Alara replied, pressing her knife against his chest as he appeared. "Humanity thrives on adaptation, intelligence, and courage." He twisted, attempting to teleport behind her, but she had planted small magnetic fields that disrupted his tech, forcing him to retreat. His eyes widened slightly. Even for someone highly trained, this was unexpected. Alara pressed forward, moving deeper into the station. Every step was calculated. She used the station's architecture to her advantage: airlocks to slow him, reflective panels to track movement, and maintenance tunnels to create ambush points. Each action demonstrated a key aspect of humanity: creativity, problem-solving, and the ability to use the environment intelligently. As she moved through a long observation corridor, she paused at a viewport. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, distant planets glowing softly. Humanity had reached these stars not by luck, but by ingenuity, by daring to build, explore, and defend even when odds were against them. That same spirit guided her now. The assassin teleported again, appearing near a high-energy reactor core. The corridor hummed with power, the lights flickering as he moved. He was clever, using technology to gain advantage, yet even here, Alara's intuition guided her. She noticed a pattern in his movements, subtle shifts in energy and timing that revealed his strategy. "You underestimate humans," she said softly, keeping her distance. "We survive because we anticipate, we adapt, and we think ahead." He paused, just long enough for her to act. With a swift motion, she activated a series of magnetic pulses she had placed earlier. The field disrupted his teleportation device temporarily, leaving him momentarily vulnerable. She moved in, pressing her knife against his side. "You are clever," he admitted. "But even you cannot stop what is coming. Others will follow. They are stronger, faster, and more dangerous." Alara did not falter. Strength alone is not enough. Creativity, courage, and strategy are just as important. Humanity has survived far greater threats than you can imagine. The battle moved to a zero-gravity environment within the station's docking bay. Ships hovered, tethered to the station, while maintenance drones floated silently, monitoring the area. Here, traditional combat rules did not apply. Every movement had to be calculated, every push and pull carefully managed. The assassin tried to use his teleportation to gain the upper hand, but Alara had anticipated it, using the zero-gravity conditions to her advantage. She pushed off a wall, spinning through the air to intercept him. He teleported, only to find her already waiting, her knife ready. The predator's surprise was evident. Even his advanced training could not overcome human anticipation when combined with environment mastery. "You fight like a human," he said, almost in admiration. "Not like one of my kind." "I am proud to be human," Alara replied. "And humans survive because we never give up, no matter the odds." The confrontation escalated further as they moved through the station. Energy barriers, docking bays, and maintenance tunnels became the stage for a battle of skill, intellect, and reflexes. The assassin's technology was impressive, but so was Alara's ability to think creatively under pressure. Humanity's greatest strength was clear: the ability to adapt, to innovate, and to turn any environment into an advantage. Finally, they reached the station's central control room. It was a large chamber filled with consoles, holographic displays, and access ports for station-wide systems. Here, Alara had the upper hand. She knew the layout, the limits of the energy shields, and the control interfaces. With quick calculations, she triggered a system override, locking doors and rerouting power. The assassin's movements were slowed, giving her a clear path to confront him. He faced her, calm but wary. "You have learned much," he said. "But knowledge alone will not save your colonies." "Knowledge, courage, and adaptability have always saved humanity," she replied, moving closer, "and they will continue to do so." The final confrontation was a test of both skill and intelligence. They moved with precision, anticipating each other's tactics. The zero-gravity environment forced both to adjust, relying on balance, timing, and creative thinking. Every move was met with countermoves, a dance of intellect and instinct. Alara's human creativity became decisive. She used the control room's magnetic fields to anchor herself, predict the assassin's trajectory, and manipulate his movement. The predator realized, too late, that human ingenuity had turned the environment against him. "You are remarkable," he admitted, a rare moment of respect. "I misjudged you." Alara pressed her knife lightly against his chest, keeping him restrained. "You cannot stop humanity," she said. "Not with technology alone, not with skill alone. We survive because we think, adapt, and act when it matters most." He hesitated, realizing that any aggressive move could be countered. He was skilled, yes, but even the greatest skill could be neutralized by strategy, observation, and adaptability, qualities humanity had mastered over millennia. With careful movements, Alara secured the assassin, disabling his teleportation device using the station's systems. She accessed the station's internal network, downloading critical information about the conspiracy targeting human colonies. Every detail she collected was proof of humanity's ingenuity, the ability to turn intelligence into action, and to survive in environments designed to defeat them. Finally, she looked out the control room's viewport at the stars beyond. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers, yet humanity thrived among them. They had survived against impossible odds, explored worlds no one else could reach, and defended themselves against threats that seemed invincible. Alara exhaled, lowering her knife slightly. The assassin, restrained but alive, met her gaze. There was no hate, no malice, only understanding. Humanity's strength lay not in destruction but in intelligence, courage, and the relentless drive to survive. The orbital station had been neutralized, the conspiracy disrupted. And humanity had proven once again that even against superior technology and trained predators, they could prevail. Alara reported her success. "Mission complete. The The threat has been neutralized. Humanity endures. Her commander's voice echoed in her communicator, calm but approving. Well done, Elara. Humanity is stronger than any single enemy, and you have proven it. Elara looked at the stars once more. The galaxy was full of challenges, and predators would continue to test them. But humanity would survive. They would adapt, think, and endure. That was their greatest weapon, stronger than any technology, faster than any predator, and more resilient than any obstacle. Tonight, humanity had struck back, not with overwhelming force, but with intelligence, courage, and creativity. And that was enough to ensure survival, prosperity, and hope in the vast expanse of the stars.